We start with, when this deal collapses, these restrictions on the nuclear program collapse. And what are those implications, Richard?
Well, I think, well, number one, remember, we already have a nuclear, we assume, I mean, I think it's right to assume, that North Korea is a nuclear power, right? Or they're close to being a nuclear power. So we have one rogue nuclear power state who is willy-nilly.
Right.
And we have seen how much over the past 9 months, chaos that is created when it comes to world diplomacy. So the ideal that at minimum, even if you hate the Iran deal, even if you're a person out there that says this is the worst thing that ever happened, we know for a fact that this deal has slowed down, at minimum, bare minimum, this deal has slowed down Iran's ability to get a nuclear weapon. So at least we have a couple of years to deal with North Korea, either isolate them or curtail their nuclear program before we have to then deal with Iran. But the ideal of having two rogue nuclear powers operating simultaneously, that should scare, I mean, that's why Europe and and Russia and all these other countries are going to be like, what the hell are you doing?
Right.
Because you're now going to have two rogue nuclear states both acting willy-nilly, and you're like, oh no, we can't deal with two, we can only deal with one. And that's what makes this problematic, number one. Number two is I think there are a group of people in the Republican Party, we call them war hawks, who just want to go to war with Iran.
Right.
Right? Like there's the Dick Cheneys of the world. There are some of these generals that are advising the president who they just want, they have staked their claim on going to war with Iran. They thought they were going to go to war with Iran. Under Bush, they thought they had Afghanistan, and they got Afghanistan to Iraq pretty quickly, and the next step was Iraq to Iran. Right. And they wanted to just take all these countries out. Like that was their game, and they fell short because the appetite for war in this country, because of just the carnage that Americans were witnessing, or like people call it the Dover test, which is the amount of the American blood and treasure being spilled in Iraq for no reason. People were like, this is ridiculous. The Iraq war became so unpopular. Right, and the Afghanistan war became so unpopular that people were like, no more war, right? And this president keeps saying he wants to put America first. So if he wants to put America first, then sending us to war with Iran or playing, footsie with the Iran deal only opens up the door, which is probably the language that I've used more appropriately at the top of this segment, to a war with Iran, which is not something that I think would benefit America. It would benefit the defense contractors and the war hawks, and it would probably benefit Lockheed Martin and Boeing and all these companies that's what they do. The people that make bullets and planes and whatnot. But for the rest of us, it would be a bad deal.
It's a terrible deal. And I mean, it does nothing for us, right? Like, I mean, what is the argument that Donald Trump is even making in terms of why he wants to decertify?
He's not making any argument. He just thinks it's a bad deal.
It's a bad deal. Donald Trump doesn't know deals, right? I mean, I think the argument that he was making was that because of Iran's alleged, relationship to terrorists, he says like they need to be doing more to combat ISIS, and we're not going to certify unless they make some kind of commitment to that. All of these things are really, red herrings, right? Donald Trump talks all the time about how dangerous ISIS is to Americans and terrorism and, how they're coming for you and all this stuff. But it seems like Donald Trump has no problem, with his finger right on the nuclear button, getting ready to kill hundreds of thousands of people, right?